Hi Alex, thank you for joining me. Can you let people know a little bit about yourself and how long you've been working in the education sector for?
Hi there, great to be in conversation with you today. I'm Alex Green. I'm the head of Let's Go Zero, which is the national campaign for all schools, colleges and nurseries to be zero carbon. I've been doing this for a while now, over 20 years in the sustainability and environment sector, really. We've been running the campaign for 3.5 years. I've been working in schools and sustainability, I guess, for about 10 years. But yeah, the campaign is reasonably new. But as we all know, sustainability in education is not a new thing.
And it will lead on to my question from Andrew Dutton from Arcadis, which he picks up on that. So the first question, Andrew asks, it's got to be a net zero question, obviously, because we're talking to yourself. Particularly where you're involved at that engagement level, there's a huge opportunity for behavioural change. However, given the scale of that piece across whether it's just our school estate or wider education estate, will we actually get that across the line by 2030? And if so, how do we get some real pace behind it?
That's a great question. And yeah, thank you, Andrew, for that question. Um, Yes, it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's not, we don't design the work that we do to be deliberately easy. So our campaign wants all schools to be zero carbon by 2030. And that's enormous. That's a massive aim and a massive goal. And it's deliberately very bold and ambitious because we have to aim high. We have to be really ambitious about what we want to do and how we can do it. It's a real challenge with the current funding and the mechanism and the setup now. It's not really possible. We need a lot of things to change. We need a lot of the sector, the supply chain, the wider societal work to change. But the first thing to do is to put that bold ambition on. So we go into this very aware that it is an ambitious aim and that there is a lot to do. But we think that, the first thing to do if you're trying to achieve something amazing is to just start and get on with it. And that's a really key thing.
And you recently chaired the Education States Net Zero Conference and the first session that involved representatives from the Department for Education. What was your kind of key takeaways from that session, also the conference?
I think for me, that session particularly, it was really interesting to see the progress and the enthusiasm from the different partners, from DfE, from the team at Located, and actually across all of the different organisations there, that real enthusiasm to take action. And also there's a real willingness now to try new ideas, to do things a bit differently, to explore new options. Nobody's really interested in just sort of going business as usual anymore. And that really came across really well on that panel, and the work that they're doing at DfE and at Located is showing that really nicely. And the other thing is that desire to collaborate. There is so much now where we see different organizations who used to be competing and used to be working not quite against each other, but everyone trying to compete for different things, now going to, well, let's work together. Let's see how we can collectively make our education estates net zero, because we have to do it. So that was the real thing that I took from it. The other thing, and my favorite comment from the whole panel, was when Crawford Wright said that the first thing we should do is stop building new buildings. I mean, that is so spot on, that the answer to so much of this route to net zero actually is to look at retrofit rather than new buildings.
And both of those sort of sessions and presentations that Alex refers to are available to stream on demand on educationstates.com. There's the opening keynote that featured Jonathan Dewsbury, and then there was the Pathways to Net Zero that featured Crawford Wright, Paul Broadbent, and Beverly Quinn. So do check those out on the website and enjoy that content. On to the sort of next question, Alex, which there's a theme here. It's all related to net zero. Over the next few years, sort of what do you think are the biggest challenges and obstacles the education sector faces on their respective journeys to net zero?
Well, that's quite an easy question in my view, because the answer is funding to retrofit our estates. We have a really challenging estate. So that funding and access to funding, unlocking both private and public funding to be able to support our schools, colleges, nurseries, wider educational estates to make those changes on their existing buildings is really crucial. But sitting hand in hand with that is helping those leaders, school leaders, the estate managers, to understand what they can do and how they can do it, and what they shouldn't do as well, because there's a lot of people trying to sell a lot of stuff to a lot of people out there, and really understanding what will work for each site, and what should be done in terms of prioritization. So funding and information, and we try and do that through the work that we're doing at Let's Go Zero. And specifically, we've just we're launching our network of climate action advisors across England, there to help school leaders to really understand what they should be doing, and that's the first step to all of this.
So the biggest obstacle and challenge is funding, front and centre. On the flip side, then, what are the biggest opportunities the education sector has on their journeys to net zero?
Well, schools are amazing. So schools really have an opportunity to change society. They will lead in that road to net zero, and they can lead not just by educating our young people, and we all understand how that important that is, but actually we can't wait for our children to become our decision makers of the future. What we need to do is change now. But schools have a role in doing that because of that fantastic pester power of young people. It gets that message of net zero and what you can do and how you can be that solution out into society. So there's a real role for that sort of schools as beacons in our communities to be able to make that change. But there's also a practical side of this. We need a massive growth in skills to be able to retrofit all our houses. Let's have our schools and our education estates be the guinea pig for that, be that learning bed for all the skills that we need. Let's work on how we can decarbonise across the public sector by using our schools as that trailblazer. So they have a real role in terms of leading the way in this as well.
And in your opinion, what role does kind of events play, such as education estates and others, and attendees get from attending kind of events like Education Estates, our Net Zero conference recently, and others on the circuit?
I think it's the conversations that people have. So you can have a conversation with an expert, a leading expert, and it's informal and it's relaxed. And I think there's an opportunity to learn, and people are really keen to learn what's happened already, what might be coming up in the future, what are the solutions that are out there. And I think when you physically get a bunch of people together in a venue, in a room, and we put on talks and have those events where people can just have conversations, that it's amazing what can come about. There's so much to be said, and I think we all learned that during COVID lockdowns, that just being in a space together, which is a relaxed and friendly space where you can learn and become more informed, is really vital.
Now, a question I've been asking most of my sort of panelists and in conversation with series, can you share something about yourself that the audience may not already know about you?
So I guess a lot of people I work with already know that I love running. I'm a big runner. But what not everyone knows is I'm absolutely obsessed with parkrun. So parkrun is this fantastic free system where you can go to and run a 5K. It's timed and it's relaxed, and it's every Saturday morning you can go and run a parkrun. So if you're not doing it already, you should do it. And I think it's such a wonderful way to get communities together, and the change you see in people from being part of that wider parkrun family. In fact, there's loads of things about parkrun that we've magpied and used in our Let's Go Zero campaign, because it's just about getting people together with a common thoughts. And yeah, totally obsessed with it. Think it's amazing. My family do it, the kids do it when I can drag my teenagers out of bed to do it. And I'm just coming up to my 200th parkrun, which is very exciting if you're a parkrun geek like me.
That is amazing. And do your kids beat you, or do you beat your kids?
They all beat me. Yes, yes. I have 3 teenage boys who can all very comfortably beat me now,
And you
unfortunately.
are a super fast runner. I know that from when you went running with Mike Lee at Education Estates last year. So they must be seriously quick. So on this Saturday, you're probably doing the park run at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd imagine.
Of course, of course.
every Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning. No, thank you for sharing that. My next conversation is with Julian Robinson, Director of Estates from LSE. What question would you like me to ask Julian during our conversation?
I think for me, what would be really interesting to hear from him is about how schools and universities all work together. So that transition of students that go along our journey of education, how can schools give him better students who are more climate aware, who are more aware about net zero in what they do and what their university should do? What are the things that we could do better in schools that make his job easier from a net zero perspective in the universities? I think that would be the question I'd love to know from him.
I shall put that to him in our conversation. Thank you, Alex, for joining me, and good luck on your park run on Saturday.
Thank you.